Hey YouTube, it's John here from Stupid Robot Fighting League. I am in lockdown like pretty much the rest of the world that are doing what they're told, and I wanted to give something to the world. You know that we do Stupid Robot Fighting League, and I had the idea of miniaturizing Stupid Robot Fighting League. Eventually what I wanted to do was actually make a frame, sell it, and you know, hopefully make money off it. But I thought that in this time when so many people are wondering, sorry, I just washed my face, so that drip just came off. So what I wanted to do was actually give the world something to do. So what I'm doing is I'm going through the process of the design and fabrication. I have a rough idea of how I'm going to achieve it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the frame out of the poles that we use for the smashing. So this is just what you'd normally use for pine garden stakes. So they're quite easily attainable, or you can just cut, you know, if you have a table saw, then you can just cut the stuff down yourself. So what I want to do is, firstly, I'll try and make a frame for Stupid Robot Fighting League, mini Stupid Robot Fighting League, out of this stuff, and then once I get the size right, then I'll start making it out of thick cardboard boxes, which is something that a lot more people would have available to them. So so let's just see how this turns out. I have no idea how I'm going to do it. For those of you who aren't familiar with Stupid Robot Fighting League, I suggest what I'll do is I'll put a video up on a card at the top of the screen, and then look at that and you'll understand the rough mechanics. But basically we'll be using any rubbish lying around, but also figures, action figures. So the arms, you know, your arms and hands and everything will be separated, and in between the joints you'll have hot glue with cotton in between to hold everything together, but to keep it flexible. Now I'm figuring that enough space for the two fighters, usually they come up to about here, so you've got about that much movement back and forth. So I'm anticipating that about 30 centimeters, I'll do conversions to inches, but I'm figuring that between that'll be about 30 centimeters long. So what I'll do is I will cut myself, for starters anyway, 4 of these at 30 centimeters long, and then I'll worry about heights after that. Okay, so we're looking at Jimmy DeResta here, and so he will help us to work out what would be a good height from top to bottom for the I don't know, the uprights on the ends. So we will measure that. I reckon that'll be a good height. To give you some variance, these will not be the floor. Okay, this edge here, that will be the floor. So if we have a look at that and try and find a sort of a standard measurement there, so it's almost, I would go with 30 centimeters. So it's basically a square then. So what I'll do is I'll cut, I'll need 1, 2 and 3, 4 uprights. So I'll cut those and we'll go on to the next stage. Right, okay, so we now have 4 rails for the long part of the frame, and now we have 4 uprights. Okay, so we'll just quickly arrange these. This is the rough construction of the frame. Obviously it is not the most sturdy, but it is the simplest for anyone with a hot glue gun to stick it together. Okay, you know, I could do angles and bracing and stuff like that, but I don't think it will need to be stronger than this. If it needs to be stronger than this, I will brace the corners by just cutting off a small length the same height as this, and then just glue that in. Okay, but we'll see if we need that in the end. Alright, so we need 2 of these. So this is the upright. So basically, so that's a rail, and that's a rail, and then there's a, so we'll have 2 of those. So these will be apart from each other because we need some cross members to keep this away. It'll be standing up like that, but you'll see in the end anyway. One other thing I just figured out just by putting Jimmy back in here is that if you're finding that the things you're making are too tall for this frame, you could always just put blocks underneath the corners and then it will give you more height. So it's scalable like that. But I think from here to there is pretty much bang on for the distance for the fighting. Okay, so the next thing that I'm doing is I've laid down some baking paper to stop the hot glue from sticking to my table, because there's hot glue stuck all over it. And I've got my square, and what I'm going to do is just glue between the upright and the rail. So anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to chuck a bit of hot glue there. Okay, squidge that up. So what we have here now is the two sides of the frame. Okay, so we'll get that in shot, and then so we need 4 uprights to go across there. So that's the next thing that I need to work out as far as size goes. Anyway, so what we're looking at here is, so all I'll do to get the width of what I'm after, because we'll need a bit of play on the outside of the whatever it is, and so this here I reckon will probably be about right to allow variation in the size of the actual stupid robots. So what we'll do is we will put the cross members on the inside. So we'll measure from outside to inside to inside. That'll be 200 mil, which I will convert into inches for our American friends. So I'll cut 4 200 cross members now. So here we have a box, what we call in Stupid Robot Fighting League the rectagon, and so the next thing we need to organize is a rail, but the thing is I haven't sorted out yet what we're going to use as axles for a rail, so that's probably the next thing I need to sort out. Right, my son has generously given me some of his broken toys, so what we're going to use, or attempt to use, is a shortened axle on these wheels here. So these pull off fairly easily, and I'll put some hot glue in there, but I'm going to shorten these to about half, just so we can have a narrow rail. I'll show you later, but so I'll just shorten these first. Okay, so take that out. So and there'll be basically a string or something in between them. So I'll just try and get the other one at the same length. Okay, so they're pretty much close enough, or they're pretty close to each other. So so what we'll do now is make a channel on the top that they can roll down. Not sure how I'm going to do that, but that's the next thing. Right, next thing for us is the rails on the top, and so I've sorted out what I'm going to do for that. So you've seen the wheels, but the next thing we're going to do is the length. So I measured out, so we need 2 pieces from this edge here all the way to this edge here, which works out to 345 mils, or in inches for my American friends. Alright, so basically, I don't know if it's making any sense to you, but these axles and tyres will free roll back and forth while there is a string underneath going through that gap there, pulling the wheels backwards and forwards. So the Stupid Robots will free roll just as you see in Stupid Robot Fighting League with the with the skateboard wheels. The next thing I need to do is to center these two, but with the what I might do is try and find something like popsicle sticks or something like that, maybe double them up and glue them in between, and that will give us a uniform gap all the way down. So I'll put them in the gap, so there's a standard gap at either end, which allows a string, probably some nylon or something like that, to slide through forwards and backwards. So what I'm going to do now is the 4 cut wooden pieces from the wooden knife. I'll glue those together now.
Beans.
So this acts as a stopper, as well as a gap. So it's quite handy. The next thing is to get this in the center. So I'll just mark a center line and get it close enough. Alright, to do that, I just this was supposed to be 200, so I just need to mark the 100 line here. So this is a hot glued rectagon. It's, I would dare to say, it's quite sturdy. So you know, if you smashed it and you've dropped it, it probably would break and die and stuff. But so this is the rectagon, and so the next thing we need to do is actually try out building 2 stupid robots. We've got our wheels for the tracks. We just need some sort of system to hook onto cotton or whatever. I've got plenty of cotton, so I'm sure you have cotton in your house, or string. So anyway, we'll go on to the next stage. Okay, so here's the glory shot of the rectagon. As you can see, I've got the blue, I don't know, channel guides on the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you what they are and how they work. So we'll go to the next shot. This here is just a piece, what we use in New Zealand for 2-litre ice cream containers. I don't know what you use in the US, but it's just thin plastic. It's actually quite flimsy, but it's quite strong if you pull down on it. I mean, so I'll just pick it up here and put it in my hand and show you what shape I've cut into it. So I don't know what you call that, like an exaggerated 7 or something. So you can see a nice close-up of the what I did for the wheels and how I just slotted on, and just using gravity it pulls down and slots on. So what I'm doing here is I'm tracing out the shape onto a piece of cardboard, which will give me a template to make the little stupid robots.
John Sanders is a drummer for the band called the Stupid Robots. I run a YouTube channel called Stupid Robot Fighting League. I thought that was pretty funny. One day I got John Sanders to send me some beans. He did it, cost lots of money, so I paid him 2 installments. It's nice to know that I won't have the stupid robots breaking my legs in. Stupid robots, please don't hurt my legs. Bing, 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 bing. Stupid robots, please don't hurt my legs. Stupid robots, please don't hurt my legs.
Ready? And so one thing we have discovered about this is it's a little bit deep. So
Shall we move
so it needs
them
to be
into the middle before we
needs to be
fight?
shortened up. No, that's fine. Okay, you ready? And fight! What? Nah, bend you up, boy. Oh! Yeah. Tangled up there. Oh, okay. I've lost a hand. So when you lose a hand, you can't use that anymore. And fight. Yeah, Sam, try and land some shots and stuff rather than just dragging everything up. Roundhouse kick to the face.
And the head! Get the head!
Fight!
No, I want to do the taunt first.
No, we're not doing taunt. I'm just going to smack you in the face. Yeah, you probably want, a bit more finesse in it.
Come on, boy!
Roundhouse kick to the face. Yeah.
Okay, yep, lost a limb.
Oh, you did? So it's a tie now. So generally these fights would go for 2 minutes.
Yeah,
So,
but like this thing is 3:42.
Yeah, well that's enough for our fight.
Okay.